Hey guys, hope you're having a good start to the week. I wanted to tune in and share a couple things just about, I guess for lack of a better word, my life story and what the last 10 years of life has shown me. Hopefully to impart some hope, some wisdom to some people that are either in college, graduating from high school, or even in their mid to late 20s that are struggling to find direction in your life. So I'll start by telling you a story. I'm 28. 10 years ago, I graduated high school. And for those of you that have been through that, you know the feeling of throwing the caps, right? Walking down the aisle, or maybe you said what major you were going to study. Well, I did two of those things, but the last one about knowing what I was going to do with my life was always such a challenging question. Where was I going to go to school? What was I going to study? Right? Like all those questions. I knew one thing, and at the time it was that I wanted to do music. I was in jazz band, high school band, right? I loved playing piano and guitar. And it was really the only thing that I really enjoyed outside of some sports. But as I made that transition into college, you start having those conversations with your parents, maybe people around town, and it's like, hey, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to study? And I didn't know. So I was faced with a decision, and it was, do I go to music school and follow my dreams, or do I stay at the local college in my hometown and study general business? I'm sure some of you can relate to that feeling. So, long story short, I decided not to go to music school because my parents were wise and they said, hey, you could go to music school, but we'll pay for community college. And one of the things that scared me at the time was graduating from college with a lot of debt. And so I got my gen eds. So that was kind of the start of a new chapter, going to community college, and then really just putting music on the back burner. So fast forward a couple of years, I transfer to Kansas State. I study accounting there. I graduate. And during most of my college years, some of the lessons I learned throughout may be beneficial for some of you. And one of them was I got committed to a relationship that was really beneficial in a lot of ways, and it was fun, it was enjoyable. But when I look back at a lot of those years, who I'm no longer, in this relationship anymore, I see there was a lot of wasted opportunity to connect with people or to really grow in my skill set. And then the other thing as well is just I kept delaying what I knew to be my enjoyment, or lack of a better word, passion, for some type of future goal or some type of future decision, right? Sorry, there's people on this trail with me. But I guess that's the main point, is every step of the way I kept kicking the can down the road. And when I was in high school, it was, let me get a degree that is safe. And then when I finally graduated college, let me get an accounting job that was safe. Well, about 2 years into my professional life, I started struggling emotionally with this anxiety about running out of time, or what would I do if this was my last day, right? And I just wasn't satisfied. I wasn't happy. I was doing this routine job. It's 9 to 5, accounting, finance. And I'm not to say quitting my job was the solution, right? There's a lot of people, even online on YouTube, that you'll find say, quit your job and, fire your boss, but, you still have to make money and pay your bills. So all that stuff was running through my head. But eventually I just had to throw in the towel and take a career break. So that was during 2021, was, 6 years after I graduated. I had just made a series of choices that were just they are always kicking the can is really the best metaphor I can say it as, hoping that someday I'd be able to figure out the meaning of music in my life. So, after 2021, I started seeing a counselor and seeing growth and improvement in my mental health, and I realized that it was time for me to make a change. So we're 7 years after that original graduation day, right? And ended up breaking off a relationship that was for the best, and started going to the gym, working on my health at the time. And I just thought, what if I tried a different city? I think some of us growing up always wonder, what if I try something else? Or like maybe you grew up in a big city, maybe you didn't. But for me, growing up in the Midwest, I always wondered, what if I moved to Nashville, or what if I moved to New York, like just so I could get a taste of a different world and a different space. And I chose Austin just to get a change of scenery. So this is again 7 years after graduation. And so I go there, and I know no one, right? I end up living in an Airbnb with some friends, or not friends, really strangers that I just met. And I did that for a month. And during that time, I got plugged in with a church. I started serving. I kept my workouts going. And I really felt excited about this new adventure that I was on. So a month later, I decided to move, and I feel like so much of my life changed after I made that one decision to get out of my comfort zone, to try a new space, and it unlocked a lot of opportunities. One of which was meeting my wife here in Austin, where we live. I met her literally a month after I moved, and we were engaged over the next 6 months, married the next year. So to any of you feeling like, you just left a long-term relationship, or you haven't found your person yet, it can definitely happen in the right time, and I'm grateful that it did. It doesn't always have to take a long time to find the person you're supposed to be with. And back to the kind of the life lessons is, I thought moving to Austin would fix all my problems a little bit, and I was starting to feel that momentum, right? So around that fall that I had just moved there, I decided to actually quit my corporate job and say, hey, like, I'm gonna go all in with entrepreneurship and with business. And I was talking with my mentors at the time, who were kind of encouraging me, who had started their companies. So I'm like, surely I can make it work, right? So my first goal was to become a freelance software developer. And I was wrapping up some coursework, and I soon came to realize that I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't like the process of programming, but I did like the idea of making a company in the music tech sector. So I put together like a little wireframe or a little kind of prototype, and was marketing it to students at the University of Texas. And eventually I just ran out of resources and cash, pretty much, as I was bootstrapping the whole thing, technically unemployed, didn't have a W-2 job. And then at that same point in time, I had already chosen this woman that was going to be my wife, and that was a critical point. And I chose her, and I chose that life, which meant I needed to figure out, how to save, how to pay for a ring, how to do all these things. And over the next 2 years, let's say 2023 to 2025, which is today, I've been hustling in sales. I decided at the time, if I couldn't build a business right now, I would do the closest thing to owning a business, which would be some type of sales. So, I worked a number of sales jobs, as you do: cold call, freight broker, SEO sales. Now I'm in project management sales, and I'm turning that final leaf. And the point of this whole story, which I know we've done some twists and turns, and I'm still getting used to the whole YouTube content, social media content format, is the same person that I was 10 years ago, and the same things that I loved then, I still love now. So when you're thinking about your life, you may not know what you're going to do with your gift and your passion, and that's okay. And that's what I hope to illustrate with this following or audience or channel, whatever you want to refer to it as, is an opportunity for me to step into this next chapter, which I believe is something in the music space, something with data, something with saving people time. Like, I have passions, but ultimately I have no idea what that next step is. But I wanted to let you guys in on what this journey looks like as someone that doesn't necessarily come from a lot of wealth or doesn't have a lot of things figured out. I'm not going to let that stop me from taking action and, continuing to learn about the industry or the things that I enjoy. So all that to say, I appreciate you guys listening to this, and I'm going to continue to release content of just songs that I write, or even tools that I'm using or people that I connect with, so that you can get some insight into what it looks like to take steps forward when you don't really have a plan, or you don't have complete clarity on what you want to do next. Because really the enemy of progress for me has always been planning. I've always needed a plan. I've always needed certainty before I've taken an action or taken that step. But moving to Austin, getting married, trying different industries has shown me that it was when I wasn't ready that I experienced the most growth. It's when I decided, I committed, and then I saw the results from that. Just like this video, my hair's all over the place. It's pretty raw and unedited, so forgive me there, but hoping you can get some value from this. And if you guys have any questions on how to navigate that transition from high school to college, or from college into the workforce, and how to wrestle with direction and emotions. Obviously faith plays a big part for me, but would love to start that conversation and build a community of people that can encourage each other to not let dreams die, and to continue pushing forward and finding, whether it's a job or it's starting a business or it's kicking off a passion project, to keep dreaming on that.